Hello everyone, I'm Natalie and welcome back to my channel. I get questions about transits from people wanting to know how certain transits will affect them in their lives and in their charts. So normally you would go to an astrologer for this, and if you don't have the time or the money to do that, to always go to an astrologer and get like a monthly horoscope reading, then I am going to share with you things that I have done to learn about transits for myself. And it takes a lot of intuition to study transits and to see how they really affect you. Because the reality is that no one can really tell you how your life is going to play out, because no one can tell the future. That's just my opinion. That's just what I think. The future is something that nobody knows how it's going to play out. We can use astrology to make predictions, but those predictions are never going to be set in stone. You're never going to find someone who is going to be able to look at your chart and tell you exactly what's going to happen. And that might be disappointing to hear, but I'm trying to just tell you how it is. And, there's some astrologers out there who will try to get you to pay big bucks because they're going to try to sell you that. They're going to try to sell themselves in a way that makes it seem like they know what's going to happen, but really, no one knows. So you get transits. You can look at transits that are happening. I use astro.com. I have just felt like the charts that they have are the easiest to read, but you can use whatever source that you have that you feel the most comfortable with. Use whatever is the most comfortable to you and that you find the easiest to read and comprehend. Whatever chart layout. Use whatever kind of astrology. Use whatever kind of additional items in your chart. Seriously, use all the resources out there. Try different kinds of sites. And usually they will have some kind of option to see transits on their own, in their own little chart and graph. You can do that, or you can see the transits in your own chart, which is probably what you should do if you want to see how they're affecting your own chart. So you have to kind of go back to the basics. When you learn about astrology and you learn about the planets and what they mean and the signs and the houses, get a basic understanding of that, of all of these elements of astrology. And when you see that a planet is in a certain house, look at the degree that it's at. And then, again, using your basic understanding of astrology, learn about the aspects and the degrees that the aspects are, if that makes sense. Like a square is a 90-degree aspect. And use the basics again, know about cardinal, fixed, and mutable, so that way you know what signs are square to each other. Know about the elements, fire, earth, air, and water, so that you know which signs are trine and sextile to each other. Know that the conjunction is, some astrologers say it's 0 to 10 degrees. Some astrologers say less. And know about the planets, even at a basic understanding. Know what they mean. And by knowing what they mean and seeing what sign they are, you can see kind of how they play out in that sign. If you do research a transit and you can't find absolutely anything out there about it, then learn about it as if it were a natal placement. Do research on it as a natal placement. And then take parts of that feel like they apply to you, and then apply that to the transit. Because transits are kind of temporary natal placements, but they affect more than just a natal placement, because a transit could make aspects to some of your personal planets that maybe aren't aspected in your actual natal chart. But you can kind of see it as that, like a temporary natal placement. And when you learn about how it is natally, you can take some of the elements that you learn about it as a natal placement, and if they feel like they apply to you, then use that knowledge. If they don't, then they don't. And you can keep them in mind for potential things that can come up for you. It's just like your own information that you can take and use for whatever aspect of your life. Again, you have to use a lot of your own intuition, because if you don't have the money to go to an astrologer all the time to get this report from them, and even if you do, again, what they say is probably not always going to feel like it relates to you. So that's where your own intuition and your own knowledge of yourself and your own chart and your own life, because you're the only one living your life, comes in, that you have to use. You have to. This is how you read your own chart. So I Google a lot of this stuff. I will Google what planets mean transiting in certain houses, or squaring a planet of mine, or conjunct a planet of mine, or whatever aspects that they are forming in my chart. I Google it a lot. I read a lot. I watch videos on this. I read other people's interpretations of aspects, and I take the parts that sound like they fit my life at that moment, and I apply it to my life. And if they don't fit that, I keep them in mind, so that way if it does turn up, if it does come up, then I will remember and be like, oh, I heard this in a transit report, or I read about this, that this could happen, and hey, it ended up happening, so look at that. Then I remember this is something that could happen when this transit happens. And that's just how you grow your knowledge. That's how you learn about this stuff. But again, you have to kind of look at your own life and see what applies to you and what doesn't. Be open to different opinions and different viewpoints and different things that can happen. Transits, I like transits, because they can give you an insight into certain things that can come up for you. But I personally choose not to just rely on them too heavily, just because if you get too caught up in them, you can go down an endless rabbit hole of your life in a moment, and trying to figure out why shit is happening, or why things are coming up, or why people are popping up, or why you lost your job, or your money, finances suck, and why you're fighting with your partner. You can go down this endless, bottomless pit of confusion and trying to find answers through astrology. And yes, you can find some insights, but you're never gonna find full, complete answers to your life's problems. So just try not to use transits for that. Try not to rely on them for that, for your life to sort of make sense, because honestly, sometimes life just doesn't make sense. And although astrology can give us insights into why it's not making sense at some moment, or why something surprising happened, sometimes it can just lead to even more questions. And that's just my opinion. Again, I don't think that people shouldn't follow transits if they want to. I think astrology should just be a tool for you to use to help build maybe your own intuition about yourself. But when it comes down to it, it really just depends on you and what your life circumstances are at any given moment. And certain transits can affect your life, yes. And then sometimes things happen that don't. Like when Venus transits my 5th house, supposedly I've heard, oh, a new love could happen. That doesn't happen. So I don't put my entire hope on that. That's just an example of what I mean, of not putting our entire hopes and beliefs on transits alone, because there's a lot to life. There's a lot more to life than even just astrology. So I hope that you can take my opinions for what they are, and I hope that this can help you, realize that you can figure out transits for yourself. You just kind of have to look at your life and use your own intuition with them and go back to basic knowledge of planets and houses and signs, and read. There's so many resources out there available to us. Read it, watch videos, listen to other people's opinions, and take what you feel like applies to you and use it. Keep it within yourself. So that's my video for today. I hope you like it, and if you have any questions on transits, let me know in the comments, or if you have any thoughts or opinions on this, let me know of those too, and thank you for watching.